Most people think a blackout is an inconvenience. Candles, dead phone, spoiled food. That's day one. Within 72 hours, the real crisis has nothing to do with electricity. Raw sewage is backing into your bathtub. The water from your tap is contaminated. The hospital 4 blocks away is running out of diesel. This is the actual cascade sequence. What breaks, and when, so that preparation feels like engineering, not paranoia. "4 hours. That is the USDA-tested limit of an unpowered refrigerator. At the 4-hour mark, the internal temperature crosses 40 degrees Fahrenheit. After that, every ounce of meat, dairy, and produce inside begins breeding pathogens. Your freezer buys more time. A full, tightly packed freezer holds safe temperatures for 48 hours. A half-empty one fails in 24. Packing density is the only variable that matters here. At the same moment, cellular towers hit peak congestion. Their battery backups are designed for minutes, not a multi-day crisis. When the 2015 Lancaster substation flooded, 60,000 people lost digital communication within hours. Local radio became the only broadcast. Copper line payphones had queues stretching down the street. Meanwhile, water still flows. Municipal towers run on gravity reserves. That normalcy masks the severity of what is already in motion. Municipal water towers are gravity-fed reservoirs. Electric pumps refill them overnight. Without power, that refill stops. Normal demand drains the reserve in 24 to 48 hours. As the tower drains, pipe pressure drops. Below 20 psi, the physics reverses. The positive pressure that keeps contaminants out is gone. Backsiphonage draws groundwater, fertilizer runoff, and pathogens directly into the supply through microscopic pipe cracks. Boil water advisories are not issued when the tap runs dry. They are issued during the dangerous low-pressure window before it does. The water sputtering from your faucet in the final hours is likely already compromised. The countermeasure is specific. 8 drops of unscented 6% household bleach per gallon of clear water. 30 minutes of contact time before you drink it. Double the dose for cloudy water. That is the WHO and EPA standard. Memorize those numbers. Gravity cannot move wastewater across varied urban topography. Sewage lift stations do that work. They are electric pump wet wells buried beneath residential streets. There are thousands of them. Most people have never heard of one. Without power, the submersible pumps stop. The wet well fills. Depending on catchment size, it overflows in 24 to 72 hours. Untreated sewage backs into low-lying residential plumbing. Basement drains, toilets, bathtubs. Then it overflows into streets and waterways. This is a confirmed pattern. It is not a worst-case scenario. The compound danger. Sewage backup and contaminated drinking water arrive at almost exactly the same moment. Day 2 to day 3. This is why 72 hours is the true inflection point of a grid outage. By the end of day 3, you have lost reliable water. You cannot trust the pipes. The food you did not preposition is gone. The next phase has nothing to do with comfort. It is about the institutions you were counting on to hold the line. NFPA Standard 110 mandates that hospitals maintain what is called a Class 96 emergency power system. 96 hours of on-site diesel. Day 4 is the hard cutoff for any facility that has not secured emergency resupply. In Lancaster in 2015, non-urgent surgeries were canceled within hours of the outage, while generators were still running. Oxygen concentrators and home dialysis machines failed first. The most vulnerable went first. The fuel logistics problem is worse than most people plan for. Gas stations store their fuel in underground tanks. Electric suction pumps bring it to the surface. No grid power, no pump. The fuel sits feet below the forecourt, completely inaccessible. And the fuel you do have stored, gasoline with ethanol, the kind at every pump, begins degrading in 1 to 3 months. Diesel is vulnerable to microbial growth within 6 to 12. Propane is the only liquid fuel with an indefinite shelf life. Fuel storage is an engineering problem, not a shopping problem. Temperature-sensitive medications begin failing silently. Human insulin remains effective for up to 28 days unrefrigerated, but only if ambient temperature stays between 59 and 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Above 86 degrees, degradation accelerates sharply. Here is the error that kills people who are trying to be careful. Putting insulin directly on ice seems logical. It is not. If the vial freezes, the peptide bonds break. The medication looks unchanged. It is clinically inert. Do not freeze insulin. The protocol: insulin vials in a hard-sided cooler, separated from ice packs by towels or bubble wrap. You are managing temperature, not maximizing cold. This is the week when the gap between those who prepared and those who did not becomes medically measurable. Oxygen concentrators, dialysis machines, powered equipment of every kind, dependent on electricity that no longer exists. By the second week, the question is no longer about surviving the outage. It is about understanding why the grid cannot simply be switched back on. Power plants require electricity to generate electricity. Control systems, cooling, turbine excitation, all of it needs power before power can be made. When the grid is entirely dead, there is no bootstrapping source. Designated black start units go first. Hydroelectric dams, specialized gas turbines with on-site battery banks. They start independently and route power down isolated transmission lines, called cranking paths, to restart larger plants. As secondary plants come online, they form isolated power islands. Before two islands can be connected, their electrical frequency and phase must be synchronized with precision. A mismatch causes catastrophic physical failure, transformer explosions that set recovery back by months. Then there is cold load pickup. The moment power is restored to a neighborhood, every dormant appliance switches on simultaneously. That surge can collapse the restarting grid immediately. Restoration must go block by block, constantly balancing generating capacity against the pent-up demand of a dark city. Fully restoring a collapsed regional grid is a multi-week engineering operation under ideal conditions. This is not a failure of response. It is physics, and understanding that timeline is what makes preparation rational, not paranoid. 4 hours for food, 72 hours for water and sanitation, 96 hours for hospital fuel, weeks for grid restoration. Each failure is predictable. Each has a specific intervention window. A 30-day blackout is not a camping trip. It is a cascading systems failure that dismantles water, food, medicine, and social order in a precise sequence. Competent preparation can interrupt that sequence, not prevent it. Interrupted. Subscribe for the Systems Thinking series. The next episode covers water infrastructure in depth, how municipal treatment works, what fails first, and how to build localized redundancy. Preparation resources are linked in the description. Prepare, adapt, outlast.